I know today let a lot of people down that we weren't able to get this win because our players put so much into it, and I wish I had something I could say to them to make it better. I know our fans hurt, but I just told the team in the locker room, Dick, like it's been a tough year.
Welcome onto the sideline, everyone. Jared, Parker, Claire Foley here right after South Carolina's 29-22 loss to the number 4 team in the nation in Alabama. A really good game from the Gamecocks in most of that second half, but they just weren't able to close it out. Claire, I know you were following the Alabama side today, so I want to get your takeaways from just the Alabama side, being able to close out that game. What did you see from them today?
Well, there's a lot going on here. So first of all, this is my first game here at Williams-Brice Stadium. I've been as a fan a couple of years ago, but this is my first time working a game. And something that you tweeted out during the game was that this is your 5th game here, but it's the first time you've really felt that Williams-Brice atmosphere that everybody talks about, everybody brags about. And I would say the same thing. Obviously, I felt it before when I came years ago as a fan, but it's definitely a piece that's been missing so far this year. And I had said on the preview episode with Matt earlier this week, I would love for this South Carolina team to go out and get a good loss, and I really feel like that's what this was here, to be competing with the number 4 team in the country up until the last 2 minutes of the game. This place was rocking. The fans from the student section came down. They were right here at these bushes. I was standing on the sideline shooting the game. I thought I was about to get trampled. Thankfully for me, that didn't happen. Obviously, the fans would have liked to do some trampling there, but yeah, I think there's a ton to build off of here for this South Carolina team, and I think that they should feel good about themselves after this loss. Obviously, you never want to say you feel good about a loss, but like I said to you immediately after the game, I said there's a lot we can work with here. Yes. So let's start with that.
Right, and I'm glad you brought up the environment because it was something you all talked about. You were wondering how it would be. You were wondering about the Fire Shula chants. We got some after South Carolina led a long drive and settled for a field goal to open the game. But after that, once South Carolina was in the game after the 54-yard touchdown to Nick Harbor that saw the Gamecocks cut it to a 2-point deficit, I felt like all the angst, all the anger about how the team was doing in the past 7 weeks was gone, and everyone was locked into right now. We have the number 4 team in the nation on the ropes. They had an 8-point lead at one point, and it was 80,000 people minus the Alabama fans. So maybe,
Alabama did travel well.
They did. So maybe like 75K who were all locked in to South Carolina getting it done. And offensive line has been a big point of the last several weeks. They gave up 6 sacks and 5 sacks the past couple weeks. Today they gave up 2 sacks, not what you like, a holding call on what would have been a Lenore Sellers touchdown, but giving up only 2 sacks to this Alabama team is definitely a step in the right direction from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think both the fans and the team were just having fun again. And when you're able to play with more freedom and play looser, good things happen. And you talk about the offensive line. We know that they've had their struggles all year long. But one thing that Shane Beamer said this week was, well, last week they didn't have any pre-snap penalties, which was an improvement. Did have some here tonight, but they were able to protect enough to get the run game going, which is something we've wanted to see from this South Carolina team all year long. Even saw a couple of big runs from Lenore Sellers, including a touchdown for him. And so things are definitely building in the right direction, which is exactly what you want to see towards the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely a step in the right direction today. Unfortunately, though, still a loss for South Carolina, and Shane Beamer recognizes it. He was very critical of the fourth quarter, and here's what he had to say after the game.
We need to finish in the fourth quarter. When you got an 8-point lead at home and you got a team on the ropes, you got to put them away. And we didn't. We had an 8-point lead, and we allowed them to go, whatever it was, 80 yards down the field and convert some third downs. And we did not play well on offense, defense, or special teams in the fourth quarter. And that's disappointing because one of our keys every single week is to dominate the fourth quarter. And I don't know what the record is. He's the guru, but our record's pretty freaking good around here when we're leading going into the fourth quarter. And disappointing that we didn't finish today. And I know today a lot of people down that we weren't able to get this win because our players put so much into it. And I wish I had something I could say to them to make it better. I know our fans hurt, but I just told the team in the locker room, Dick, like it's been a tough year, and that weighs heavily on me as the leader of the program.
So here we like to do the good, the bad, and the ugly. If South Carolina won, I was thinking of doing a good, the bad, and the great because I wouldn't have been able to choose an ugly, I don't think. But obviously, those last few minutes of the game transpired, and we're here where we are now. Claire, what's the good from South Carolina tonight?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was seeing the run game get going. I mean, that's something that's such a weapon for South Carolina, particularly Lenora Sellers. Like you said, I was covering for our sister station, so I was covering the Alabama side of things tonight. So I was in their post-game press conferences as well. And one of their players said that the toughest thing about Sellers is that he's basically a running back. Yeah. And so when you are able to actually utilize his skills in that way, that's why you're able to compete with the number 4 team in the country. So I think the good or great thing tonight was seeing the offense come alive in that way.
Yeah, I'm sticking with running game like you, but on the other side of the ball, I mean, in the first half, South Carolina only allowed 2 rushing yards from Alabama. Allowing 2 rushing yards of any SEC opponent is impressive, but again, the number 4 team in the nation,
and
Alabama.
Their offense has been locked in.
Yeah.
And that was the thing coming into it in the preview episode. We talked about, yes, Alabama's offense is good, but South Carolina's defense is good. And so where would those two kind of balance out? And the defense really kept South Carolina in this game for a long time when South Carolina was having some of those 3 and outs, or when they were getting into the 30 or within that range and not scoring or coming out with just a field goal. And you could feel some of those frustrations, but the defense did not let up. They kept South Carolina in the game so that they were able to keep it all the way until the end.
Right. You think about that first half. I mean, the defense only gave up a touchdown in that first half because those other 7 points were from the pick 6. So that is a half you want as a defense. Yeah. Cracked a bit at the end. It happens, but I mean, I was really impressed with how they showed up, how they were getting after Simpson at moments, how they were stopping the run in the backfield as well, not just stopping it.
Yeah, and one thing that when I was thinking during the game, okay, what are going to be our good, bad, and the ugly, and I was thinking that the ugly might be the end of the first half when South Carolina gave the ball back to Alabama with 1:30 left on the clock. I was like, you do not want to give them that much time. And the defense was able to come up with the stop. So it went into the locker room 14-6 at the time, I believe. And then South Carolina came back in the third quarter and scored a touchdown they didn't get the 2-point conversion, but it got it within 2 points there. And so the defense throughout the game really kept them in this one.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the Gamecocks lost. So what was bad tonight?
I would say some penalties really hurt them in certain spots. Lenora Sellers, he went in for 1 touchdown and it was called back because of a penalty. I think that really hurt them there. Obviously, the missed field goal hurt them. Obviously, it didn't end up mattering, but it could have with how close this game was, tied with less than 2 minutes to go. But I don't know that there's necessarily one huge thing that stands out to me. Does there for you?
It's one moment. I mean, we can talk about pre-snap execution as a whole. One of the bigger moments today for me was when South Carolina scored a touchdown. They're down 14-12. They're looking to equalize with a 2-point conversion. You can't get things organized before and you have to burn a timeout. A timeout that you really, really could have used in this game.
And Shane Beamer was not happy. No. He spiked the headset after that.
Yeah.
so that was probably his ugly. If we had him on a mic here, he'd probably say, you know what it was? I'll tell you.
He was fuming, but I mean, that's just in a game like this, you can't have moments
Right.
like that. You can't burn a timeout on a 2-point conversion. And then it kind of pigeonholes you now because you burned a timeout, so you can't say, okay, let's kick a field goal. Now you got to go out
Right.
and convert this 2-point conversion because we've just burned a timeout on it.
Right.
That was just, it wasn't pretty to see there.
Yeah.
So, ugly.
There's her ugly.
What was ugly for you? I mean, do you have an ugly?
I mean, like I said,
It's hard to
I
see.
think it was just the self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was one of them. You saw more of them towards the beginning of the game. I think they came out in the second half with a lot of energy. I'm sure Shane Beamer and the rest of the coaching staff had some words for them, and I think that was the spark that this team needed to play with. They just really need to improve on not hurting themselves.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my ugly is the last 2 minutes of the game, really. Lenore Sellers fumbles. You can argue that it should have been stopped for forward progress. I think that's a fair argument, but he said he thought the whistle was going to blow, and Bama stripped him and took the ball back. Scored after that. Bama squib kicks, and Nick Harbor doesn't handle it effectively and ends up starting the drive for South Carolina, I believe on their own 9-yard line. With 29 seconds to go, no timeouts. I mean, how many teams drive 91 yards in circumstances like that? You're already, a deck is stacked against you, and you just stacked it against you even more.
Right, that was the thing.
Yeah.
There were big situations where they just hurt themselves.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's something that they've done all year long.
Yes.
And now they had enough on the other side to keep them in it and to balance it out and keep us at a tie game late into the fourth quarter. But those self-inflicted wounds are not going to help them win games, and that's the problem here. Like you can have a moral victory in a close scoring game with the number 4 team in the country, sure, but at the end of the day, they're not winning games.
Yeah, and after 8 weeks, you kind of just have to say they are who they are.
Right.
So those last 2 minutes, that was who this team has been, especially in the SEC. That 1-5 in the SEC. Now, those last 2 minutes, that's who the Gamecocks have been this season.
Sure, and that's something that I said in the preview episode this week too, that this may not be their year. It's clearly not their year. They have 3 wins, and there are only 4 games left at this point. So there's not a lot of time left on the clock. So because of that, you need to use games like this to build off of. And I think that in that case, South Carolina did what they needed to do in terms of building and growing and learning in a situation like this.
Yeah. Now, Claire, obviously you were covering the Bama side. You heard from Kalen DeBoer after the game. It's not the Saban-led Bama that I know people love to see, but what did he talk about after the game?
Well, he said kind of a similar thing, that it wasn't pretty for them. There were certainly a lot of mistakes and a lot of opportunities they feel like they didn't capitalize on, but a win is a win. They're now on a 7-game win streak. They're heading into a bye week before taking on LSU, and he just said that this is a win that he trusts his team to go out and get.
I think just the story of the game is resiliency. Doesn't matter how you win. It ain't gonna be pretty all the time, especially when you go on the road. SEC game, Coach Beamer, a well-coached team. We knew they were going to fight. Tough environment here, and just proud of the way the guys hung in there for 4 quarters. It's certainly a good feeling right now because you're going to take the experiences and how you did it, and that's going to add to the belief you have. And you just got to be mindful that it didn't happen on its own. You had to go make it happen. You had to strain. You had to get your cleats in the dirt and really lock in, And again, everyone's got to do their job. And so these moments stack on top of themselves, and more times than not, they've been positive, and that's what we got to ride. And I'm excited about what it's going to look like practicing because there's just probably as much juice as I've seen in the locker room right now. Over the course of the last 5 weeks. And I think just we've understood what this sequence of games was going to be like, and just knew that, like I said earlier in the week, we're in the stretch. We're not through the stretch, we're right in it.
All right, like I said, Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide will head into a bye week. They'll host LSU on November 8th. Now, coming back to this one here, Jared, who was your player of the game?
So my player of the game didn't stuff the stat sheet. Nick Barrett, he was my player of the game. And the reason I'm choosing Nick Barrett is so much of today started in the trenches. And Nick Barrett, he was a force in stopping that run game. He had a couple big plays behind the line of scrimmage and at the line of scrimmage that I think kind of, as a team captain, as the senior, as, you know, the guy that is the voice of the defense, that I think it energized the team. It energized the fans. So for me, his impact was, it was big on the stat sheet, but it was so much bigger than what the stats just say. What about you?
Yeah, for sure. I think you could give it to anyone on defense. Honestly, I've said a million times that the defense was what really held South Carolina strong in this one. And they've been significantly improving every game so far. And I think that this was one of the best of the year for them.
Claire, any more thoughts before we wrap up? I mean, Williams-Brice Stadium tonight was bumping.
I know. I feel like I'm being too positive for it being a loss, but I feel like we haven't been able to be very positive so far this year. And like I said, I said on the episode, I would love for a good loss, and I really feel like this was a good loss for South Carolina. I mean, the fans were in it the whole time.
Yes.
The team, Shane Beamer was riling up the fans saying, come on, get loud, because they know what kind of weapon that is for them to bring even big teams like Alabama into Williams-Brice Stadium and have the surroundings, have the noise, have the atmosphere affecting them and being their 12th man out there. So I'm excited for the last couple of games we have left.
All right. I think tonight.
And I think they're really going to bring it for the Clemson game.
I think tonight showed what South Carolina has to offer. It's a loss, but one thing is they had, I mean, Asia Wilson was here. Don Staley was on the sideline. They had the Hall of Famers here. It was a big recruiting day for South Carolina today. They had a lot of not just football recruits. Josie Robinson was in the crowd, one of the top women's basketball recruits. And I looked over during a sandstorm in the fourth quarter, and those recruits were locked into this game. So, hey,
fans, you might have helped us with women's basketball.
Yes. It might not be a great night for football, but I think tonight was a great night for women's basketball.
And there was some word on Twitter that Luke Bryan was in the house here tonight.
Oh, really?
That his son is looking to be recruited. So, hey. Good time to be at Williams-Brice Stadium. Good time to be a Gamecock fan, I guess.
A lot of fun. I had a lot of fun tonight, obviously, Claire.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Looks like you did. Make sure you subscribe to South Carolina Sideline on all the platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music. If you have a device, you have a smart fridge, a Game Boy, whatever you have, we're there. You can find us.
Fans are locked in here. You got to be locked in on the pod.
Lock in with us, South Carolina Sideline. I'm Jared Parker. This is Claire Foley. We'll see you on the next episode.